Welcome everybody. I'm Lauren Yost. I'm your professor for microbiology for this semester. This slideshow is meant to help reframe our thinking about studying versus learning. And they're not the same thing, and I hope that this presentation shows you what I mean by that. Okay, if I asked you to, in your own words, explain the difference between studying and learning, do you think there's a difference between studying for something versus learning for something? To you, is there any difference? Most people will say that studying is like learning flashcards and just getting the basics of the information just in your mind and recalling it, right? Whereas learning it is like being able to know it and understand it well enough that you could explain it to somebody else. Like you know it well enough, you could teach somebody about it, right? You actually learned that material. That's the difference. Obviously, that's preferred. So, which do you do more? Do you tend to study more for your classes or learn more the information in your classes? Do they have to be mutually exclusive? Of course not. How overwhelming does it feel if I were to say, think about learning instead of studying? And I don't mean this conceptually, like I said in this. What if I ask you to prepare to lecture for the first chapter? What I mean by that is, if I came to you, I'm like, okay, John, you are going to be expected to present all of the chapters and all of the information in chapter 1. I will not be lecturing over chapter 1. That's going to be your responsibility. You need to be sure that you cover all of the information. Otherwise, just like I would, but that's your responsibility now. What if I told you that was your responsibility? You could have panic attack probably. Yes, but what if I told you you had to know that? Do you think that somebody who prepares to present chapter 1 this way knows it well enough to teach somebody else chapter 1? Do you think that that person would do better on the test for chapter 1 than somebody who just studied? Of course they would. Just saying. So are you sure if you want to learn, do you know what you need to do to learn effectively? Okay. I don't know why I went ahead by it, but whatever. Should you just be studying harder, or should you be working towards teaching the equivalent of teaching, being able to teach your peers? If you could choose for each unit exam, because we have 4 unit exams, right? Hypothetically, if you could choose between studying hard to make an A on that test, or learning that material well enough that you could teach the class that way. Like I just explained it in the previous one. Know it well enough, actually learn it well enough to teach it, or just study hard. Most people want to go study hard because they already know how to do memorizing and recall. It's familiar, it's not overwhelming. They think that that's less work. Maybe it is less work, mentally, yeah, maybe it is less work. So how would you employ the strategies that you already know to do better on the test, right? Is that what you've been doing to do well on your tests? Has that been working for you? And why wouldn't you just always operate at your max? What I'm saying here is, if you've ever studied, right, and then taken a test and you didn't do well on it, so you're like, oh, the next one I'm going to study harder. What are you going to do to study harder for the next one? You're going to do the same thing that you did last time. Bet you are. So that's what this is saying. Why are we not doing actually more when you want to do more, you want to do better? This is showing you how to achieve that. I'm hoping it will. And you will actually do it, and then it will help you. All right. If you need to teach something to your peers, if I actually had you teach chapter 1, okay, you don't want people to think you're an idiot. You want your peers to do well on the test, that they're relying on you to teach the material. You want to know that material in and out in case they have questions. And this last one. This is literally what I do. I'm not an expert on all this stuff that I'm teaching you guys. I mean, yeah, I went to graduate school and learned stuff and whatever, but do you think that I'm like constantly dealing with all of the details of all of this? No, it was the last time I touched PCR. I can't tell you. So I know what it is, know the concepts, but why? Because I learn. This is how I learn, is by having to prepare well enough to teach people. Okay. Have you ever had to explain something to somebody else right? You're explaining them, I don't know, how to change a tire or something. And they might ask a question about what you're explaining, like, but why do you use this type of, I don't know anything about change a tire, this type of bolt remover and not this one? Why do we use this one? Why can't we use it the other way? And you don't know, right? That's when you realized you didn't know everything that you thought you needed to know about that topic, changing tire or whatever it is, right? This is real. This is something that happens in real life. And it's actually the best analogy that I have for when people don't do well on my test and they're surprised by it. And this is often. So in moments like that, you're going to realize that you didn't know the material as well as you thought you did. And in real life, that's just how that goes. You're not taking an exam and your grade doesn't depend on it, sure. But in our course, I'm hoping that you'll realize that stuff by doing like quizzes or the questions in class or the unit projects, and that'll get you an idea of like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, maybe I need to go back and that's what my class is for. I'm not giving you just stuff to pad your grade for no reason. I'm giving you things that you are going to be doing, whether you want to or not, for a grade, because that should be your reward for doing them. That will help you actually learn the material as opposed to just memorizing it. Okay. Yeah. So it says if you didn't find out during those times, like if I didn't give you, questions in class, I didn't ask you questions in class, we didn't have quizzes, if we didn't have the unit projects, if all I did was lecture and then give you exams, when do you think you would find out that you were deficient in the knowledge in chapter 1 or something? When you take the test, right? Let's not put it to that, right? We'll put in our effort to understand what we're doing in our assignments before that, and we'll put in our effort to truly understand the material as opposed to just recalling it. And this is where Bloom's taxonomy comes in. You've probably seen this before, but Bloom's taxonomy basically is a hierarchy of learning. And so we have the remembering crap down here on the bottom. So this is like duplicate, define, memorize, state. This is the recall stuff on the purple on the bottom. Next one up, let me get my little guy, here we go. Next one up is the understanding level. So now we have describing things, discussing things, explaining things, identifying things. I really want you guys to try to work hard to get up into applying, analyzing, evaluating, and even creating if you can as you are studying. But you definitely need to get out of just remembering. Do not rest in there. You will not do well in this class. It's just a warning, okay? But yeah, don't get stuck in just memorizing. It doesn't do well. So let's see how you can apply this with Goldilocks and the 3 bears. She broke into these people's house and ate their food and sat in their chairs and just slept in their beds, which I don't even know what to say about it, but of course they're mad, right? So here's the idea. If we go down to the bottom, remembering, in that category, list the items used by Goldilocks when she was in the bear's house, okay? You could go through there and literally just memorize that if you wanted to, but that's just going to be chairs, porridge, beds. Okay. So the next one is understanding. Explain why Goldilocks liked Baby Bear's chair the best. I didn't read the thing. I don't remember. I think it was because it was small, like it's her size. I think that's what it was. That's the answer. So you explained it, but is that really like that much like revolutionary compared to the other one? No, maybe not. So now demonstrate what Goldilocks would use if she came to your house. And now this is the thing that a lot of people have a problem with. When I say demonstrate what Goldilocks would do if she came to your house, a lot of people will be like, okay, well, yeah, I'll just think through. Okay, well, yes, she'd probably see my sofa. I have a couple sofas. She might want to try out each one of them. No. When I say demonstrate here, on the test, of course, demonstrate or something like that would be, writing about it or whatever. But it's much better to actually physically do or talk about it at the very minimum. Get up and do the thing or talk about it out loud. You think it's stupid, you'll do better on your test if you do it, guaranteed. Talk about it out loud. Talk about it out loud. Scientifically proven to help with recall and understanding. If you actually talk about it out loud and you have to word it out of your mouth into words that make sense, and you're hearing it and other people are hearing it and they're understanding it, well, you understand it well enough to talk about it. It's usually better than just like a flashcard term, right? So talk about it out loud, talk about it out loud, literally with your voice, actually, okay? I don't care if you do it in your car. I don't care if you do it in your garage or at McDonald's or, to the guy that's next to you at the bar. I don't care. But you're going to say it out loud. That's how you're going to study from now on. All right. This is metacognitive strategies, basically thinking about learning. Always solve problems without referencing an example. What I mean by this is if you are working on filling out your quiz or a study sheet, like a study guide, like questions about it, or whatever, working on a project or something, and you come across something and you don't know the answer, don't just ask your buddy. Okay? No, don't do that. Bad. So don't do that. Look it up yourself in the material. Why? What's the difference? Because if you look it up yourself in the material, you're probably looking through the material and having to understand that material roughly in order to find the thing that you're looking for. Does that help you? Yeah. Does asking Benny over there for the answer help you? No, don't do it. Okay? Don't ask the AI. No, doesn't help you. All right, memorize everything that you are told to, of course. So if there is memorization, definitely do it. Ask why, how, and what about everything. The biggest tip I have for this course and going forward in any course in all of college ever, if you want to learn your information, you need to know why your right answer is right and why the wrong answers are wrong. If you're filling out the quiz or the Kahoot or the exams, whatever it is, and you were going through it for study purposes, if you got the question wrong, why is that wrong? Why is that wrong? And why are these other ones wrong? Why is that one the right answer? And I don't mean just think about it, write about it. Why? And then tell your, whoever, Uncle Joe, go to him and explain, hey, I got this question wrong. This is the right answer because blah, 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 blah. Go tell the wall, or tell, I don't even care, your dog. Like I said, talk about it out loud. Sit in your room in silence in the dark. I don't care. But start saying these things out loud whenever you're going over them. Really, really important that you understand why the right answers are right and the wrong ones are wrong. If you think you're going to just stroll over that one, good luck. Okay? All right. That, I think, is, if you can't understand why the right answer is right and why the wrong answers are wrong, is one of the biggest reasons why people do poorly in my class. They just think they just need to memorize. I am not kidding when I tell you that will not do you well in this class. It's a difficult course for a reason. I don't want you memorizing it. How does that help you? I want you to understand this. If you don't understand this material, you can just memorize this. Why are you even coming to college, man? So that's the idea. I want you to understand it. You need to be able to explain it well enough, understand it well enough that you could explain it to me, right? Study to the point where, put a little presentation together, like you were going to present to me. Even if the presentation is mostly in your mind, that's okay, or just written down on a little scratch paper, whatever. But go through your little topic that you're studying well enough that if you were saying it out loud to me, you would instead be saying it out loud in your little study blacked out room or your car or wherever. Explain it well enough that I would say, yeah, good job. So that's the big one, right? Understand why the right answer is right and the wrong answers are wrong. If anything, take that. If anything out of all of this, take that, okay? All right, bottom line, it's not just studying, right? We're not just here to memorize things. We need to know why right answers are right and wrong answers are wrong. Can you teach it to me, potentially? Come explain it about it to me. Even if I were to ask you questions, could you answer them about the topic? What would you do different if you're teaching me instead of just studying? Like if you had to prepare to teach somebody about this, you had to prepare to teach chapter 1, let's say, what would you do different to prepare for that as opposed to if you're preparing for the test that you normally do, the way that you normally study, okay? Can you look me in the eye and tell me honestly that you're already operating at that level when you prepare for your exams? You're already operating at the level that you could actually explain this stuff out loud without having to reference it to something. And understand what you're saying, what the words are that are coming out of your mouth. If you are good, legitimately, okay, you should never come out of a test feeling like you worked your hardest, and then when you didn't do well, say, oh man, I'm going to study harder next time. If you think you worked your hardest on a test and you did poorly on it, and you're like, I'm going to do this again, same way, but I'll do better. No. What are you going to do differently? You should not be doing that. What are you going to do differently next time? If you don't do well on the first test, what are you going to do differently for the second one? Did you actually study your hardest? Did you learn the material of your hardest? Or did you just memorize things your hardest? And whatever. So you need to be operating at your best really at all times. If you thought that you studied your hardest, how are you going to top that the next time? If you're just going to do the same crap. So here are some suggestions on how to learn effectively. All right, so one of the tools that you can use for studying is doing proper note-taking procedures. Okay, good way to take notes. If you're watching one of my lectures and you're rewriting what I'm talking about or what's on the slides in your own words, like rephrasing it or even summarizing it, that's great, okay? That's a good way to take notes. If you're somebody that copies the slides word for word, copies the textbook word for word, maybe you did rewrite the stuff in your own words at first, but now you're recopying that word for word. Stop. Even if you're somebody that thinks that this has been working for you, please don't do it anymore. It's a waste of time. It doesn't help really with memorization even. So just try something else. I bet it works better. All right. The better way to deal with this, making flashcards from whatever key concepts, especially the ones that you are unfamiliar with. I would make flashcards off of all of the concepts that are in the study sheets, right? So whenever you do that, try to make sure that you're putting down enough information to get you through understanding it. Anyways, it says, don't waste your time making cards for things you already know. So if your topic on the study sheet is, microbes, because one of the things I think on the study sheet is microorganisms are, living things that can't be seen with the naked eye, or you need a microscope to see them. Do you need a flashcard for that, y'all? I mean, if you do, then okay, but like, if you already know that, then just don't make a flashcard for it. It's a waste of your time. All right. Things not working the way I need it to, but that's okay. Okay, flashcards, they do have their place. Yes, they do focus on that lowest level of the Bloom's taxonomy. They are, memorization and recall, basically, right? So they have their place, but they can be used more efficiently. Most people are just going to go through their stack of flashcards until they fall into their own grave and never stop with going through the freaking flashcards over, as if that is going to do something more. If you've seen this card that you've memorized already, if you keep going over it 50 times as if you're going to do better on the test, how is that benefiting you? It's not, by the way. So, anyways, Quizlets. Don't use them as flashcards, please. Don't use them as study mechanisms. They're not better than flashcards. They're the same. And sometimes worse, because you can't really can't handle it the same as you can in flashcards. So you can use these to test your knowledge, like a quiz or something, but I do not recommend these for studying at all. It's just ends up being a lot of time waste there. Not to mention, a lot of times that these Quizlets were put together by people that don't actually know the material. You want your classmates putting together, Quizlets for you to study off of that they may not have put it together, put the wrong information because they didn't understand it. And you might be studying that in your Quizlets. Don't. So I'm just saying, Quizlets okay if you want to test your understanding, but I don't recommend leaning on them as your primary study mechanism. I really don't, okay? Next, flashcards shouldn't be your sole study mechanism. They're a place to start, okay? They're only recall, they're only memorization. I need you to get up higher with the understanding, okay? All right, for the flashcards, when you're using them, they have their place. Like I said, we do need to memorize some things. We're gonna go through the Lightner system. We're not gonna go through with the flashcards every 9 days or whatever. So what we're going to do is the Lightner method. You make your flashcards. They start off in box 1. If you learn it, you'll go through it every day. Box 1, you go through every single day, okay? If you learned it, it goes to box 2. If you didn't, it stays in 1, okay? If you don't get through all that, you aren't comfortable with that content, and you want to just leave it in box 1, that's fine. Box 2, you're going to look at that every other day. Not every day, every other day, maybe every 2 to 3 days, okay? Space it out some, is what I'm saying. So you'll go through box 2 every other day, still go through box 1 every day, okay? On the days you're doing box 2, if you learned it, it goes to box 3. If you didn't learn it, it goes to 1 again, okay? And as you're getting new flashcards in for the next chapter or the next chapter, whatever, just feed them in, work them in to the box 1 and start them in with that same process, okay? The goal is to get everything to box 3. That's the understanding box. When things get to box 3, you only revisit box 3 once a week. You go through it 1 time. And if you still understood everything in box 3 that week and the next week or whatever, you don't need to go through it 50 times. That's my point, okay? You knew it. You know it. It's there. You recognized it. If you waited a week and you still recognized it, you go through your notes again and your flashcards again the day before the exam. But if you still knew it then, you don't need to go through it 50 times. It's not helping, so don't do that. But yes, so this is a better method on how to actually make the flashcards work for you as opposed to just mindlessly going through flashcards over and over again, which is, I would guarantee you, what almost all of you are doing. So make it work for you. All right, remove flashcards that you know 100%. Even if you learn them in this method already, and you're just like, I don't need to see this one again. I already know this one. It keeps coming up, and I've already seen it, and I know it. Like, ugh, take it out, throw it in the trash. And you're going over that. Okay. Understand, this is right. Understand your study sheet. Don't just memorize. Go through each bullet point and explain the bullet point. Explain why what that statement means, what information you need in order for it to make sense, and what goes around it or what's connected to it, all of that stuff. And if you can't explain the bullet point with the information that you have at hand while you're at this point in studying, watch that portion of the lecture. And all of my lectures and everything are going to be on YouTube, so you can use the closed caption function to search for that point, okay? Read that portion of the chapter in your textbook, God forbid. Google it if you need to. You can email me if you want an explanation, a different explanation of it. There's no reason to just I guess I don't know, and then go into the test and then feel like you're going to fail because you didn't actually understand this and you didn't know how to understand it. Do the work. It sounds simple enough, but really, do it. So this is an example. The eukaryotes lack a true nucleus and were the first organisms on the planet. This is a true example from the Unit 1 sheet. Okay? What does eukaryote mean? What is a nucleus? Those are things that you might look at that and want to, investigate a little bit further in order to understand the content better. But yeah, that's an example. Okay, also next step. So we did our flashcards, we did our kind of going through understanding the topics in the worksheet. What else can we do to make it work for us? So one of the things we can do is reorganizing our thoughts and understand, create flow charts, create brainstorms, whatever other tools that you might want to help reorganize the thoughts about it and then build off of one another. And just keep going until you've covered all the information that you would need to on that study sheet. And fill it in. Reorganize those thoughts. Don't just keep looking at the same sheet, reading it over and over again. Reorganize it and work with it differently as you're trying to figure out what these terms mean and concepts are. Okay, teach it to somebody else. Just do it, right? Whether it's a person or, like I said, person, wall, monster, I don't care, your table, I don't care. You need to be saying these things out loud. Okay, science has shown explaining concepts out loud. I'd prefer it to a person that could understand you, but at least saying it out loud and hearing yourself saying it and hearing you saying it confidently actually helps quite a lot. Actually, I said that a lot. Actually, but yes. saying it out loud with confidence shows your mind that you're confident. Okay? Who knew? So just go through the stuff, explain it out loud. From memory is best, but using prompts from slides and whatever, that's fine too. This is easily the most effective way to study. Preparing for that, preparing for explaining the things out loud without having anything to lean on. This is, like I said, not the same thing as thinking through things in your head. If you have to do that, if you just are dead set on doing that, good, at least you're thinking through the processes. But I just promise you, I promise you, saying it out loud is going to do you more good, okay? All right, this is sort of like in my classes, in my lecture, in-person classes, when we do the questions for the exams, questions for the chapters as we're going through the chapter, and I have everybody answer questions, and I call your name and whatever, we stand up. Why? Because guaranteed, if I just left you sitting there on your butts in front of me while I'm lecturing for an hour and 15 minutes, and we were just done, did you listen to any of it? Did you fall asleep? Did you zone out? Yes. Were you Googling things? Yes. But if I'm going to call your name and make you stand up, it's going to change you're awake now, you had to stand up, and you might get called on and all of that. So now suddenly your brain is actually staying engaged, whether you wanted it to or not. That's the goal of that. That's to benefit you, not to be mean. So this is kind of a similar thing. The saying things out loud gets your mind working with the information differently than you would if you were just reading it, okay? Present each chapter to something. That's my recommendation. Go through each chapter. You learned that chapter, go through it, make sure you understand it, now present it to your stuffed animal, okay? Your wall, your parent, your kid, whatever. Of course, obviously, real person is better. But yes, do the best you can. If you missed something or messed something up, you go back through the notes afterwards and you're like, oh, those are the things that you need to focus on more next time. If you're going to re-present it again on a later day as you're studying, you could do that. Be sure that you're covering those topics more, the ones that you missed, okay? So re-add them back into the flashcard hierarchy if you need to, and then be sure that you understand why you were wrong when you said those wrong things, right? Going back to that, be sure you know why right is right and the wrong is wrong. Always, anytime you come up on that. If you were wrong about any of that, be sure you know why. Okay. Yes, ultra best. Prepare and use your own PowerPoint slides or use a whiteboard, and then actually actively use those things when you're telling your friends or studying or whatever. When I was in graduate school, we would study for exams, me and my friends. There's 4 of us all together, sometimes 5, depending on if they wanted to join for studying. But actually, ended up a lot of us would get together, probably about 12 of us sometimes, depending on what we were preparing for. But we would literally present for each other. It wasn't an assignment. We would literally present about topics to each other. I'm talking about, this is Ivy League, graduate school stuff, smart people. But we would get up in front of each other and, talk about, the Golgi apparatus and how it works or something like that. We'd talk about these science topics and explain it. And then we would call each other out if you didn't get this right. Oh, with this, we think it's this. And if we could have discussions about it. Oh, I thought that it worked like this. Okay, well, we should look this up. Okay, now this says this, whatever. Get some friends together, get a study group together, work maybe with your group that you're assigned, and present to one another. I think that this is one of the best ways that I ever learned in my entire life, hands down, and I highly recommend it for you guys as well, okay? So, Leitner flashcard method, the 1, 2, 3 box. Divide it up how you feel comfortable with it. If you want to do every day for 1, every 3 days for 2, every week for 3, that's good. All right. Understand the study sheet and don't just recognize the words or read through it. Right. Understand what the words mean, and then also generating that flow chart and brainstorm, applying it in different ways. Reorganizing that information and how they relate to one another, and then the presenting level of things, applying that, that could be the applying level of Bloom's taxonomy, all the way up to possibly creating, depending on how you approach the subject, right? So yeah, that's my study recommendations. okay? Flashcards, and then going through the study sheet, making sure you understand it, that it makes sense, and then reorganizing those thoughts in a brainstorm, and then putting those topics together to present. That's what I recommend, okay? Seems like a lot, seems overwhelming. Seems like you're like, I'm not doing that, like this is too much. How much time do you think you're wasting with your studying, how it is right now? Are you a rewrite? Do you like to rewrite things, copier? Are you somebody that leans heavily on a Quizlet or flashcards? When people come to my class, I find that they think that they know how to study. And then my first 2 tests usually average around 60%. And when I go over the questions afterwards, everybody says one of the biggest complaints I have is that they should have known that answer. When I go over it and I explain it, and then they're like, I should have known that. That's my number one complaint on why people don't do well on my exams. Deal with that as you will. You know, if you think you're going to do so bomb on these tests that you don't need to try anything new, good. I genuinely hope that you do. I genuinely hope that you are going to be the best at all of this. I want you to succeed. I'm just saying, if you are somebody that, you know, relies on only flashcards, you might not get the A that you want. That's all I'm saying. So you want to get a B, that's fine. You don't want to work for the A, that's cool. If you've been getting A's, you know how to study already, good for you. But if you want to try something different that might help you learn as opposed to just memorizing, then I recommend you do those 4 things. And I do think that if you have been going through flashcards a million times and Quizlets a million times and copying your notes over and over and over again, that's a waste of your time when you could be doing this. So this is what I'm saying. I recommend this is how you study. Do not do the other things that you are doing. Drop those and do only this. That's my recommendation. If your excuse is, you know, it seems real hard, that's just too hard. That's just too hard. Or like you get that feeling like it's just too much. No, I don't want to deal with that. It's too much. That's not a real excuse, and you know it. Okay? It is. It's like major cop out. Don't just lean on that. Yeah, it's too hard. I bet it's too hard. You're going to have days when you are working. Most of you are going to be nurses, so that's why I'm using this example. But there's going to be days when you're going to be working your shift, and it's just going to be back to back, just nightmares. You're just going to say it's too hard and sit down. Prepare yourself for the hard stuff. Prepare yourself for the hard stuff. Do it now before it is that hard. Do it now, and it'll be easier then. That's what I'm saying. So just try these things. They will help you. Just try them. Actually put effort into doing them. If you have to, you know, if you're going to say, well, I like the flashcard thing, but I don't know about the presenting thing, I really recommend you at least do flashcard and brainstorm and presenting. But if you have to cut out the presenting, at least do the flashcards and the brainstorming. If that's new stuff to you, at least try that. Okay? Try something different. Try adding something different in, please, and see if you do better. I want you to succeed. All right, so contact me at any time if you have any questions, concerns, suggestions, any of this. If you didn't like something that I suggested, or you think you have some other thing you'd like to add in to my recommendations, then please let me know. Like I've said, genuinely want all of you to succeed. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I try to put my work into my end of this. I'm hoping that you will as well. That will make this class go so much easier for you, I promise. Putting that effort in up front. So it's my recommendation. Take it or leave it. And I'll see you guys later.